Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch.
Shutting me down, and whenever I talk, you shut me down and you say everything is okay, it's your imagination. Like, for example, after Tulsa, you met with me because I don't speak with your mom. But it's because, like, I met with your mom.
About what?
Because the way she treats me.
How does she treat you?
Because she's trying to find...
So Natalie is opening up the conversation. She's doing okay. I think there's a better way to open the conversation. Like, hey, I don't know if this is me or you or whatever, but I think, like, for example, with your mom, and when you do this, I feel like you're not listening to me. So, but, you know, I think she was doing okay. And she's like, yeah, like we were in Tulsa and your mom, she was, you know, you wanted me to talk to her, but I didn't want to talk to her because she was being mean to me. And then for Mike to be like, what are you talking about? He should have some inkling and give her a little bit of help here of saying something like, well, okay, so, because, you know, in Mike's mind, you can think, I don't think she was that mean to you, and I think you might have been provoking her on a certain level, and I think you were a little delusional about the hooker word. But as you know, if you're in Mike's position, you want to try to work with someone. You want to try to make the conversation go in a direction of resolution. You don't want to just put up a wall and be like, what are you talking about? I don't know. And then instantly put someone on the defensive where they feel like they have to justify what they're saying. Now, if I was Natalie, I'd be like, okay, I get it. You don't think that your mom was mean to me. All right. I feel like she was mean to me in the following ways, but you don't think so. That's okay. My main point here is that I feel like when I try to say things to you, like I just did, you try to shut me down and you don't listen to me. And what I'm hoping for is that you'll listen and that you'll try to understand what I'm saying, because that's what I'm looking for. That's what makes me feel safe and good. Let's see what Natalie says.
She ways to manipulate me, and she doesn't even have a chance to know me. She doesn't even want to know me.
She does.
Okay.
So both of them are not being very helpful here. She says your mom is trying to manipulate me. Your mom doesn't want to get to know me. And Mike is saying, no, she's not trying to manipulate you, and she does want to get to know you. So this is debatable. On one hand, maybe Mike's right, and on the other hand, Natalie's right. So this is why you don't want to have these kinds of conversations. What you want to do is you want to speak from your feelings. You want to say, okay, well, regardless of what happened, I felt like your mom was kind of attacking me at times. I don't know if she was attacking me, but I felt kind of attacked when she was talking with me about my job, when she brought me to the meat store. I felt attacked. I don't know if I'm weird or not, but I don't know. I just got this vibe from her. Maybe it's me. When you say it like that, Mike cannot argue with that. He could say, well, I think it's all in your head, but since I care about you, let's talk about it. And then you can, you know, Mike can say, I hear you. You felt that way from her. I don't think she was trying to do that, but maybe she comes across that way sometimes. I don't know. So you want to stick to those undebatable. Now, some people, Mike, could debate that. He could be like, well, you're really weird and stupid or delusional or crazy for having those feelings. So it takes two to tango. On the other side, when someone expresses their feelings to you, you want to hear them. Be like, okay. And you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Be like, well, I don't know what it's like to be them, but maybe I would feel the same if I was in their shoes. And you usually would, honestly, particularly if you come from the background that everyone else comes from.
Point in Oklahoma, Natalie believes your mom called her a hooker. What do you think your mom said?
I'm not answering any more from here, so good luck.
Why did your mom call me that way? What do you think? If I'm right, why? What was the reason?
You should ask her.
Yes. You should ask her. And I think Mike is justified in saying that. It's like, why are you talking with me? Now, Mike has not made things easy, because from the beginning, he would say, you know, the first response Mike had was, I think, the most functional, which wasn't entirely functional. He's like, I don't think my mom said that. I don't think my mom would say that to you. It was something along those lines. But then when Natalie kept hammering on it, he got this attitude of like, you're crazy. She never said that. But he doesn't know what she said. He suspects his mom wouldn't call her a hooker, but he doesn't know. He wasn't there. And I think Mike wants Natalie to talk with the mom about it, but Mike didn't facilitate that, didn't help that out, right? There was I won't recap those interactions, but Mike could have done more to smooth things over between the two of them so they could have a conversation. Or Mike could be a good husband and go to his mom and say, so Natalie thinks that you called her a hooker. I don't think you did. What happened, Mom, in that situation? And then Mike could be triangulated in as a helpful third, maybe. But yeah, I suspect that for Mike, and maybe for Natalie as well, he is done with the relationship and just doesn't want to help and is trying to defend himself, maybe trying to justify why he will eventually leave or something. I don't know, because he's definitely not trying to make things work. He's definitely this is the way you would treat like someone you hated at work or something. Someone comes to you and says like, I think your mom called me a hooker. You're like, I'm not going to talk about this because you're done with the relationship.
She called me a hooker.
She didn't.
So it is in my head?
Now, I wonder where Mike's coming from. There's another way to communicate that, of saying, look, I don't know what my mom said, but I don't think she called you a hooker. I think there's a misunderstanding. I just can't see my mom calling you a hooker. I don't know if she's even ever said that word before. She's just not that kind of person. Now, I will say, Natalie, that my mom can be kind of caustic at times and opinionated, but she's just not going to randomly, while you're cooking Thanksgiving dinner, just going to randomly just call you a hooker. But Natalie, my wife, I hear that you think she called you a hooker. So I'm just guessing there's an explanation. I don't know what it is, though. Instead, what Mike is saying, she didn't call you that. There's no way Mike could know that. He wasn't there.
I have eyes, I have ears, and I have brain. God gave me this.
You also have voice, too, so you could talk. You agree?
And I ask, and so everybody play like it never happened.
Right. So I think Mike is trying to make a point that you missed an opportunity to talk with my mom when we were in Tulsa, when they were by the pickup truck. And you didn't do that. And one could argue that Natalie should have said something in that moment. They were presenting a clear opportunity for Natalie to say something like, well, you called me hooker, but Natalie just wouldn't say anything. I don't know. So, but I think that Mike is I think he really holds on to negative moments. The ring moment, that was a very negative moment. He deserves to be hurt by that. I think it really affects him in those moments. And I think when he brought Mom out to the truck to talk with Natalie, he really felt that Natalie was passive-aggressively rejecting him and his mom by not talking, which I think was kind of the point from Natalie. I think she was trying to be hostile through her silence. And I think for Mike, it's like a really big betrayal, a huge betrayal to him. And there's been other moments like that. So I think that he is still in that place of hurt. Instead of making this conversation work, he is still in that place of hurt. And he's, when we're hurt, we are prone to putting up barriers to a conversation in terms of having it be functional. That's what I think is happening.
I said, sorry, I'm not going to swallow it. I'm
Just
telling you,
swallow
no.
it.
I don't understand. Why you always walk away?
I'm
you're
not.
hiding
I'm standing
something.
right here
Why you
because
walk
I'm
away?
not-
Stay here. Why? What scares you?
I've talked about this before with this couple in particular, that I don't know, total speculation, but I will say for people with avoidant attachment, people who were neglected emotionally growing up, they can sometimes develop avoidant attachment where when there's a threat, they're always trying to get their attachment needs met, but when there's a perceived threat or when there's an actual threat, it will be amplified. It will be because of the hurt and neglect growing up. When you hurt when you neglect someone chronically as a child, they have a buildup of a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, and a lot of anxiety, a lot of self-worth issues. And then as an adult, when you neglect them or hurt their feelings, it amplifies based on the past. So they have that experience. And their go-to response is to avoid, is to distance, is to turn off, is to put up walls. And the two of them do that. Mike in particular does this in a kind of classic way. I don't know if he suffers from avoidant attachment. I'd have to ask him. But it's also very common in the middle of a conflict for avoidantly attached people to walk away. Now, there can be a functionality to that. As an avoidant, I do a lot of work with avoidant people because it's a very common presentation in therapy, individual and couple and family. or fupple, as I was about to say. Family and couple blended together. But it's a common presentation. And what I will work with people, and I've talked about this before, is helping the avoidant person to get away because they're having a lot of anxiety and they need to get away, and that's okay. And this is a way of them regulating, which is fine. But they need to turn to the Natalies of the world and say, I'm escalating right now. I'm really triggered and I can't tolerate it. That's on me. It's not on you. I need a little bit of time to calm down, and I'm going to take a walk around the block, or I'm going to watch TV, or I'm going to go on my phone. And I'm guessing I'll be back in an hour. I'm not quite sure. So is it okay if I leave? And even if the other person says, no, you can't leave as well, I'm leaving anyway. And you separate. But it's really hard for avoidant people to do that because in the moment they feel so overwhelmed, and their go-to response is, I'm done. I'm not only done with this conversation, I'm done with this person. I am over it with this person. And then when they calm down, they're not over it because they actually are still attached. I don't know if Mike actually is attached anymore, but. And then we see the Natalies of the world will chase, and they'll say, you can't leave. What are you doing? What are you afraid of? And it'll just exacerbate the pain, because to the Natalies of the world, sometimes they can be traumatized by this distancing. It can feel very hurtful. And that's the thing that avoidant people don't always realize, is that when the avoidant people walk away, it can feel like a total abandonment. Ironically, interestingly, what you can make your partner feel like as you're avoiding is you can make your partner feel like the way you felt like when you were 2 years old as you were being emotionally abandoned and neglected, which often we do to our partners. We make them feel the way we felt when we were a child.
That I'm right? I don't care.
Because you're right about
because
what?
I'm right.
About what?
Because of what I said. I heard you pretty
what are
clear.
you right
She has
about?
no reason to call me that way. No reason.
As I say, sometimes there's a threshold that couples will cross where there's no way they're going to be constructive, and they've crossed that line. I think we're seeing the two of them breaking up. I think that's what we're witnessing. I don't know. But they have a lot of the signs: the contempt, the defensiveness, the stonewalling, the criticism. And it's, maybe it's a necessary phase that they're going to go through before they divorce, but it certainly seems like that's what's happening. So that's what I'll say to that. There's not much content. Once people cross those thresholds, there's not much content to the conversation for me to react to, because the purpose that they are talking to each other is they're trying to tear the other person down. They're trying to make the other person wrong and make themselves right. And there's just nothing good that comes from that. So let's watch.
Correct.
And she did.
has
into
no
my
reason
face.
to call you that.
I asked why. And after
who'd
said,
you
no,
ask?
I never did. Oh, sorry, you're
Who'd you
crazy.
ask?
You're
Who'd you
crazy.
ask?
I never did it.
Using sarcasm, not okay. Not listening, not okay. Talking over each other, not okay. Yelling, raising your voice, not okay. Standing up, walking away, saying I'm done, not constructive. None of these things are constructive.
You're crazy. Okay, I'm crazy. Okay, but she did say that into my face.
Who'd you ask? Did you ask my mom? Call my mom.
I don't have a phone.
I'll go get it for you.
This isn't a bad thing to do. It should have been done weeks ago. I think to do it now is not necessarily going to help. But, and again, the way Mike approaches it it's kind of weird. Why doesn't he just say, I don't know what my mom said. I don't think she called you a hooker. Sometimes you make stuff up, but I don't know. Why don't you talk to your mom? Instead, he's saying, no, you're wrong. And that's interesting. I just had a flash thought about Mike. Is there some kind of protectiveness that Mike has around the mom? Because he seems strangely rigid around this idea. I think there's an outside chance that the mom said something hostile to Natalie. I don't think Mike would think that was out of the question. So why would Mike be so over the top in his assuredness that she never said that? Instead of saying, look, I don't know what she said. Because I think that's all Natalie's looking for, honestly, is Mike to say, well, I don't think my mom said that, but I don't know what she said. And, my mom can be kind of a jerk face sometimes. She's a strong woman. And I know she's been having some issues with you. So maybe she did say it. And if she did, that's terrible. But I don't think she said it, Natalie. I think that's all Natalie is looking for. Just some kind of acknowledgement of, well, maybe she did. And if she did, that's terrible. I'm sorry. That's all you got to say. I will say that the background is very Seattle because those built-in things, that there's an old style of Seattle home. Maybe they're all over the United States, but whenever I see that kind of fireplace built-in thing, I always think, oh, that's reminds me. I don't even know if they're in Seattle, but all right. Well, that is it for that episode. If you didn't know already, we have a website. You can go to psychologyinseattle.com and you can look at our list of all of our audio episodes. We have over 1,000 episodes. We got some pictures. We have some info. We have episodes that are categorized by topic and all that kind of stuff. I think the website, it's not an amazing website, but it works. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.